and looking at some of the best plugins and some of the best software out there for Twitter. And then finally we'll be doing a quick wrap up with Youzign and kind of having a look at how you can use Youzign to actually create some great graphics for your Twitter profile. So getting started. The one thing more important than your tweets is the look of your Twitter profile. An attractive profile will get you more followers and result in more traffic to your blog. Now, of course, you all know this. It's why YB Properties obviously created Youzign. And it's something that we will actually be getting back to, kind of this design aspect, a bit later. But first,
Allô?
Let's engage your audience.
Ah, ça va et toi?
Okay, so I think someone's microphone was just on there for a second, so sorry about that. Okay, let's have a look at who you should be targeting. Well, let's break it down, okay, into your main kind of target demographics. Starting with the most obvious, you've obviously got your existing customers. Now, of course, these are the people who are most important to your business, and they're also the ones who you want to keep engaged across all of your social media. So, I mean, this doesn't just mean Twitter, of course, it means Facebook, as I was talking about before. It means whatever kind of social media that you're using. So, I mean, that could include LinkedIn as well, of course. Now, moving on from your customers, you'll also want to target the other end of the supply chain, so your suppliers and your business partners. So, I mean, what you're starting to see here is basically keeping both sides engaged makes for a good working relationship. And you can actually build on this by including things like trade and professional organizations as well into your kind of social network, essentially. Now, these guys will obviously keep you up to date about the latest events and goings on within your industry, whatever your industry happens to be. Because, I mean, these are the people that will let you know, when there's a trade organization on related to your specific niche, and kind of what are the big up-and-coming events as well. Finally, and not to be left out, you can also include local businesses that operate in your neighborhood and people from your professional network. So, I mean, the aim here is really about building up a community of like-minded individuals who are interested in the same field as you and are operating in the same field as you, or who can also help you achieve your business goals. So it's really, it's really there about creating that kind of sense of community, about those people that are all engaged in those kind of same interests as you. And this is quite kind of like stating the obvious, but it doesn't hurt to also kind of break down exactly who you should be targeting within your demographics. Now, of course, the tricky thing about once you've actually identified who you should be kind of working with is actually identifying these people and engaging them. Now, this can actually be quite time-consuming because, using social media it does detract, or it does take up a hell of a lot of your time, depending upon how much time you want to put into it. It can take up a significant amount of time. So luckily, of course, there's lots of software tools out there that can help you kind of like make everything simpler for you and kind of help you systemize using social media. So actually what I'm going to be doing is kind of like having a look at some of those best tools out there for Twitter, kind of like identifying some of those best tools that you could be using. And to start off with, I'll kind of highlight 10 of my favorite. And there's a couple of there that are already on the list, but like I said, there's a lot more out there. And the ones I'm talking about, of course, there's lots of alternatives. So you might already have your preferred ones, but it doesn't hurt to kind of learn more about what's out there and kind of how it can benefit you, because there's lots of different stuff out there. And it is really useful once you kind of, to help you systemize, like I said, systematize how you kind of use your social media just to make it a bit less time consuming. So let's get started with the easy ones. And obviously the easiest, but not necessarily the best way to actually grow your audience is simply obviously following and unfollowing people. Now, good and bad, you'll get the numbers, but not necessarily the engagement. Now, there are plenty of tools out there that can obviously help you do this. I personally would use Tweepy, but I mean, like I said, there's lots and lots of kind of alternative tools if you're going to go down that route of just bulk following people and bulk unfollowing people in order to just get numbers, essentially. But another good tool for people who actually have a busy lifestyle, if you're going to kind of go down this really systematized, very easy kind of approach almost to Twitter, is to use Buffer. Now, you can kind of use it in this kind of easy approach, but you can also use it to keep engaged when you've actually got a really, really tight schedule as well. So this is kind of how I personally like to use Buffer. And Buffer actually lets you schedule your tweets. So I mean, if you've got a really, really busy day, for example, like I had today, and you're kind of like full-on slogging and you want to ignore all of your social media, you can actually just spend 15 minutes at the start of the day, kind of set everything up, and then over the course of the day it will automate and push out those tweets. Obviously you're not going to be replying to any of the tweets or any of the messages that you'll get, but I mean it's better than nothing. So Buffer is actually quite a good tool out there. So I've covered two of the basics, and you know, like I said, they're two of the basics. But let's get on to some more of the practical stuff, kind of the stuff that really helps you if you're looking to really create an engaged audience. Kind of helps you analyze and look at the analytics. Okay, so Social Bros. Now this is a tool which I also use, which does exactly what I was just talking about. Basically, it lets you have a look at the analytics of your Twitter, gives you insights on optimization and community segmentation. Now by that, I mean you can actually look at Twitter followers and you can see kind of like the age demographic, you can see the interests, and this kind of helps you obviously kind of like identify what kind of target audience you're going for. Kind of helps you really, really pinpoint the age that you're looking for, kind of interest that you're looking at. And that will help you kind of create an engaged audience. Riffle is another tool, which is actually a data visualization tool that you can also use to analyze your Twitter users. Now it's actually a free plugin for Chrome, which is quite useful, quite nifty. So you can actually go straight over there and download it. Just go Riffle for Twitter, and you can find it and you can download it straight away. And it's a great little tool to actually keep track of how your competitors are managing Twitter. So you can see, you know, how many tweets they're sending out every day. You can again see who their followers are and how active they actually are online. So you can have a look at kind of the demographics of their followers. So anyone who's your competitor or who's also in the same field as you can kind of have a quick look at the demographics of the people who are following them. And you can kind of get an insight into, you know, how you can get a similar kind of audience for yourself. Now, of course, there's lots of different pieces of software out there that do much the same thing. Twitterland is another example of a tool that gives you a nice overview of demographics for your audience. Now, focusing on something a bit different, Blue Nod actually lets you monitor who is using hashtags, which is, you know, if you're looking to quickly get engaged within a community, like really, really focusing down on the niche level, like whatever your niche is, if it happens to be, you know, making flower collections or whatever, you can actually do it by quickly going in, kind of using a tool like Blue Nod to actually monitor the hashtags out there that are related to your niche, so you can kind of keep an eye on exactly who's getting involved in this niche and who are the people to follow, who are the people to get engaged with, who you can actually start having a conversation with. And it also kind of lets you keep up to date with the latest trends within your niche, which is obviously really good. So you can kind of get an idea not only about what's really popular at the moment, but also if you're kind of creating content as well, kind of like what content you could be using from kind of the content that's going around that you know is really popular. You can kind of be grabbing out ideas out of the internet or out of the airwaves, kind of adapting them slightly and then putting them online, and you know you're going to have like some really engaging content that will interest people within your target audience. Another useful tool that actually kind of lets you get into doing this is a tool called Trends Map. Now this actually lets you have a look at how topics are trending and where they're trending. So if you're a local business or if you're really involved in something within your local area, you can kind of really get to see exactly where kind of topics are trending and what topics are trending within your local area. So I mean, this really kind of helps you really focus and pinpoint on wherever you actually are. This is actually by starting to use these kind of different tools together, you can actually start to really, you know, find complementary tools essentially, and you can start to really make the most of using Truth to really kind of look at the analytics behind it, kind of start to analyze how to build your audience. And Nuzzle is also a similar, works very similar to Blue Nod, and this lets you discover actually kind of what's trending around the people you are following. So this is kind of a good way to get a very clear idea of, from the people that actually you're following, you know, what is keeping them engaged at the moment. So, you know, this, for example, if you're following your suppliers or following people within your industry, and then you can have a look at what they're actually, the topics that are really, really interesting for them at the moment, and then you can also relate that to the people that you're obviously selling your products to, your services to. So it's a good way to keep tabs on what's happening, like I was saying before, and this also obviously helps if you're looking to create content out of this. Keyhole is another useful piece of software, and this actually lets you kind of alerts you whenever a URL or keyword or hashtag is mentioned. So it's kind of like a very, very easy way to kind of focus on a topic. Like, for example, whatever your niche happens to be, or if you're looking at a URL, whenever your website is mentioned, you can kind of keep track of when your website is mentioned, and then kind of, you know, you can reply to whatever's going on around your website, or you can see kind of what kind of conversation is going on around your website or your products, whatever it is. And so that's Keyhole, which is a very, very useful piece of software. And the last piece of software I actually want to quickly cover is Life Explorer, and this is actually my final tool, and I used to actually use it in the past, and I used it for SEO. Like I said, I used it in the past, and it basically lets you see the social shares for a URL. So when you actually combine that with Mozbar, which is another plugin that you can actually get for Chrome, you can start getting a lot of the information about PageRank and social shares, which is something that you'd actually have to pay for, really, if you're going to be using like Majestic SEO or something like that. So you can actually combine Life Explorer and Mozbar, which are both free plugins for Chrome, and you can start getting lots of information out there about websites of your competitors and how they're ranking, kind of what the social shares are and the backlinks are and the domain authority and kind of other stuff. So I mean, you can really kind of use these tools kind of as part of this whole toolbox. So you can pick and mix your tools. It's not only for Twitter, but they've also got obviously other uses, and you can combine tools from different areas, and they kind of really complement each other. Now, of course, few of us are going to have time to actually use 10 different tools. I mean, 10 different tools is 10 different tools. It's a lot of chopping and changing. So what you'll obviously want to do is you'll want to find the tools that best suit your needs, and then integrate, obviously, these different features and these different tools as much as you can. And preferably, if you can find one piece of software or a couple of pieces of software, kind of limit yourself so you can really, really focus and optimize your time. That's kind of what you'll want to be doing. So I hope that kind of list of the 10 different pieces of software out there kind of give you a few ideas of different kind of Twitter tools you could be using, and kind of also how you can integrate these tools into other kind of aspects and other kind of projects that you're actually doing. So now that we've actually covered a bit about how you can go about kind of identifying who your target audience is, and then actually kind of finding out how to go about engaging them using, like I said, a range of different software, what you'll be wanting to do, and this is the final thing obviously, is you'll be wanting to engage your audience with your content. Now, straight out of the bat, a few basic rules that most people forget. Most of us will know a person who always talks about themselves. It's a one-way monologue. It's a bit like this kind of one-way monologue that I'm actually having with you at the moment. And that's not a conversation. You know, it's not actually what you want to be doing. What you want to be doing is you want to be trying to engage your audience, and that really means kind of getting in touch with them. That means trying to get their responses, which is what I'll be trying to do at the end through your questions, and kind of getting that really engaged kind of atmosphere. Now that's really, really what you want to be doing through Twitter and through across all of your social media. You don't want to be just like throwing out information and information and information. You want to be engaging with these people, because that's how you kind of build up your relationships, build up that trust that results in sales, that results in, new people to work with for affiliates and other kinds of whatever you happen to be focusing on for your business or whatever it is. And it's really about creating those niches. It's about creating those relationships. It's about networking. And to do that, obviously, you don't just throw information out there. You make connections, and that means talking to people. So, of course, what you want to be doing is you want to be finding interesting information that your audience is interested in. And I kind of identified a few ways that you can actually do this with all the software that I mentioned earlier. But in addition to kind of sending out kind of interesting information that people are going to be looking at, what you want to be doing is also kind of asking questions, retweeting, and just generally getting involved in the community that you're kind of slowly building up there through your Twitter profile. Now, of course, some of us will find this a lot easier than others to do. I mean, some of us are really Twitter animals. I've got a friend who, or literally every 20 seconds has to send out a tweet. Is a bit obsessive in my opinion. I'm almost on the opposite end of the spectrum. Not quite completely the opposite end, but I mean there's obviously a whole spectrum of how engaged people get on social media. So I mean you want to work within your comfort zone essentially. And this is really about how you need to be using your social media, because if you don't really have a passion for it, it shows very, very quickly. That's when you tend to have those kind of monologues where you're just throwing out information and kind of like, you'll see it on a lot of people's Twitter profiles. They're just sending out the same, this is my article that I just posted, this is my article I just posted, this is my, it's like, Jesus guys, come on, variation. And that's what often happens when when people are uncomfortable with social media. Is they really get into this kind of like idea that they just talk about themselves all the time, and that will result in kind of getting engagement, which obviously it doesn't really. It just results in a lot of people being aware that all you're doing is talking about yourself. So you don't want to be that person if you can help it. Of course you want to promote yourself, but you want to do that within the context of also engaging with your community. So, moving on. Now, one of the other things to kind of think about is time. Now, for example, we're doing this webinar now, and for some of you, it's going to be EST. It's what, 7:18 at the moment. For me, I'm on the opposite side of the world, so it's actually 7:18 in the evening. For some of the people, and I saw on Facebook earlier, it's actually it's going to be 4:18 a.m. And obviously, this is not really an optimum time to be listening to a webinar. If it's 4:18, there's lots of other things that I'd rather be doing at 4 o'clock in the morning, which include either sleeping or having fun. So of course, this is just the world that we live in. It's a very globalized world, and if unless you're doing a very local business, you kind of need to keep in mind that people are active at very, very different times. And your audience is a 24/7 audience, and this is kind of how you can use some of those tools I was talking about earlier, kind of being able to schedule your tweets all across the night, for example, is another kind of way of doing it, so that you can kind of keep this 24/7 engagement. Even when you're asleep, you can still be interacting to a degree with your audience. So you really want to be kind of doing this, kind of realizing that you don't just send out the same information at the same time over and over again. Kind of vary up a bit and kind of engage different segments of your audience at different times, because not everyone's going to be active at the same time. So if you're going to really want to engage all of your audience, then you need to be aware, unless you're doing a very local business, or even if you're doing a very local business, it's a big wide world. People are active at very, very different times. And if you're going to be hitting your audience, you need to really, really be active at very, very different times as well. That said, there are some peak times which you should be keeping in mind. And these peak times kind of follow the 9 to 5 work life for most people. Say you got there 9 o'clock in the morning, which obviously people just come into work. What do they want to do? They want to just use social media for a bit while they wake up. So 9 o'clock's a good time. 12 o'clock, just as you're getting ready for lunch. Obviously that works quite well. 3 o'clock when people are starting to get a bit drowsy at work and they're kind of thinking about different things that they'd rather be doing, like anywhere but in my office, please. 3 o'clock's another popular time, of course. And last but not least, 6 o'clock. So when everyone's finished their work day and they've managed to drive home or get home, however they get home, 6 o'clock is about that time when you kind of re-engage with social media and start engaging socially with your friends as well. So those are the kind of peak times that you want to be keeping in mind if you're going to be using kind of any social media really, but Twitter as well. So 9, 12, 3 and 6. And then things kind of get a bit busier, but also a bit slower over the weekends. So people obviously have a different kind of use for social media over the weekends. It's kind of that low point, especially for websites. If anyone kind of follows analytics for most websites, it's kind of Saturday and Sunday kind of drops off a bit for most websites. That said, peak times are a bit, well, I mean they're pretty much the same, 9, 12, and 3, because there's no end of work, so there's no real 6 o'clock. But that said, you do get the people just before they go to bed that will be sitting there with their phone or their iPad or or their tablet or whatever computer, sitting in bed looking at their social media just before they drop off to sleep. So another kind of time is about 8, 9 o'clock as well, actually on the weekends. But normally Sunday rather than Saturday. Depends kind of what audience you're targeting, obviously, depending on your demographics. So kind of now that I've kind of covered quite a few things, so we had a quick look at the start about kind of how you identify your audience, so kind of breaking down the demographics, kind of looking at each kind of section of your audience that you should really be targeting. The people that buy stuff from you, essentially your customers, the people that you're buying from or you're engaging with, or that are running businesses in the same, they're also kind of there within your niche as well. So that's kind of the very basic breakup. And then we looked at 10, or I gave you a quick review of 10 of the different kind of software tools that I use, and kind of followed that on with a bit about how to kind of go about promoting your content, kind of making sure that you don't have this monologue, engaging people 24/7, creating interesting content that relates to you. Since the real key here is obviously engaging. And like I said at the beginning, one of the most important things about your business profile is creating an attractive profile, because this is really where it's at. It's all about the graphics, because this is the first impression that people actually have of you as your business. And so you want to be creating a really, really nice Twitter background for yourself, for your company. And that Twitter background is that first impression that will get people engaged as they quickly sift through Twitter. It's kind of what catches their eye. So on that note, let me just quickly use Youzign and create like a nice design using the software, and kind of highlight a few of the nifty things that you can actually do with Youzign. So I'm going to quickly get started. I'm going to jump across here, and yeah, let's get started. So what I'll be doing is I'll just be going through and kind of building it very quickly a nice design, or at least I hope I'll be creating a nice design. You have to judge for yourself whether you actually think this is going to end up being a nice design. And while I create this design, I'll be showing you kind of a few of these nifty features that we've actually got with Youzign. And as a lot of you will know at this stage, we're actually in the beta stage. So we're still actually developing the software, and the software we plan to launch it in the middle of next month. So actually it's not so long away really. So it's you know, it's going to be soon. The time is coming. And like I said, we're still in this beta stage, so we're still adding new features and kind of ironing out the kinks, but more importantly, polishing it up and making it a really, really nice piece of software and adding lots and lots of nice new features. And as we're in this beta stage, we've got a very, very select group of, and actually we're really, really happy with this group. Very, very engaged audience. That are actually they're engaging through Twitter, not through Twitter, sorry, as I do Twitter, as I have a whole Twitter webinar, but actually through Facebook. So we've got a Facebook group where we've got all the beta testers who are actually getting very, very engaged and giving us ideas of kind of different things that they'd like to see us develop. And so we're really, really privileged, very lucky to have this very, very engaged audience of beta testers who are actually out there, you know, making the most of the software and already creating some really, really nice graphics as well for themselves, which they're using for their customers, using to kind of probably already using to create Twitter covers like the one I'm going to be creating right at this moment, essentially. So as you kind of just saw there, what we had to start with is you can do a lot of variations with the background. So what I did is I chose 2 different shades of purple. So that was the starting point basically. And what you can do is you can obviously change to any color you kind of want. And we've implemented a new kind of color selector. I'm not sure if you'll notice this. But a new color selector, so it makes it very, very easy to actually select any colors you want. And what I'll be doing is you can kind of get this impression of how you can use PNG images, just like I did now, and kind of grab and do quick overlays very, very simply, very easily. And start to create nice graphics very quickly. So I think what I'll do is I'll quickly change the font. So we've got lots and lots of different styles of fonts there, as you could probably see as I quickly jump between the different fonts. And so there's a huge selection of fonts actually that we're giving the users the ability to select from. And for those of you who are not yet beta members, we're using a kind of point and click approach to make it very, very simple to create nice designs. And this is really where Youzign at, is making a very, very user-friendly system, essentially. And it's very, very intuitive, very easy to use. And by this I mean kind of the ability to, you know, all from one simple menu, being able to just do lots and lots of different things at once. So duplicate images, resize images very, very quickly, like I just did there. Change the angle of everything more or less. So you can flip everything around, you can move it around. There's lots and lots of kind of different features that you can really play with Youzign. And so what I've quickly done is, as you can see, just drag and drop, move the text around, and you can actually see those kind of what we've actually implemented is these lines that actually line everything up. So you can line things up very, very quickly, very easily. Make sure everything's on exactly the same level. And there you go. I'm not sure if you're aware of what I'm going to be doing now, but I'm just very quickly going to be kind of compositing an image together by just layering different shapes over the top of each other, just to create a loading image. So as you could kind of see from just having really the PNG shell of a phone there as a starting point, I've kind of quickly, let's change that color actually. I very quickly kind of created a almost like a balsamic-esque kind of image there, really. As you can see there, the images kind of line up and overlay with each other. And this is kind of, it's the ability to, like, we want to make it very flexible. Of course, for this example, I'm using a Twitter cover, but obviously there's a lot and lots of different things that you can do with this, with the new piece of software. So in addition to being able to make Twitter covers, oh, apologize, I've been making a Facebook cover actually. I do apologize. That was a bad starting point. So what I should have been doing is I should have been creating a Twitter cover. But by the by, basically all of these, all of the Youzign kind of, well, we have lots and lots of different kind of custom sizes basically. So you got the Facebook cover, you got infographics, you got flyers, you got business cards, YouTube channel, ebook, Twitter, headers, Kindle, video. I should have been using the Twitter cover, and they're all kind of created for the custom sizes. So just imagine for a minute that this is Twitter and not Facebook. So I do apologize, but we've got that full kind of flexibility of being able to create that Twitter cover, which I should have been creating. But yeah, so basically we've created Youzign to give you that real flexibility to kind of use across all of your social media platforms, Facebook included, obviously. But yeah. And it's like I was saying before, very, point and click, easy to make, easy to create, kind of very nice graphics, very easily, very quickly, very simply. This is really about ease, about simplifying everything, kind of making it, making nice graphics should not be a headache. Essentially, is kind of what we're all about. And this is really what we've been trying to do, kind of create something that's really easy to use, very simple to create beautiful graphics without the headache that often comes with using graphic software, that kind of really steep learning curve. What we've tried to do is kind of get rid of that steep learning curve essentially, and make it very simple and easy to use. Now, unfortunately, this is going to be a bit more squashed, my design, because, like I said, it's a Facebook cover and not a Twitter cover, which I was supposed to be designing. But yeah, it's really about making a piece of software that's very easy and intuitive and natural to use. And what we've done is we've been able to add lots of new data and constantly kind of updating and playing with. And adding lots and lots of different kind of things. And of course, what we've got at the moment is we've got all these there's lots and lots of different shapes that you can use, and we've given you the ability to actually edit and change kind of all of the colors as well within these shapes. So this is really quite nifty as well. So for example, this image here is created of, as you can see, there's 5 different circles, so there's actually created 5 different colors, and you can kind of play around with all of these colors, and you can really, let's choose a turquoisey color, and you can change kind of every element there, and as you can see, you've got there you go. You can change every element and just make it perfect for you. And it's really nice feature just to be able to change everything that you'd like to be, that you'd want to change within an element, within a vector, and kind of like a simple vector, but being able to change kind of all of these different kind of colors within or aspects of the vector is a really nice feature, because it gives you the real flexibility which you wouldn't obviously have without using some very complex software. But what we've tried to do is make it very simple to make very customizable, personalized vectors that you can really use in many different ways. and still make them look very, very attractive. And let's go through it. As you can see, as I go through all of these different fonts, there's lots and lots of different fonts to choose from, and I'm going to go for various, just to give you an idea of how varied these fonts actually are. As you can see that the guidelines kind of kick in, so they help you keep an eye on exactly how your text is lined up. And you can kind of get this feel about actually how easy it is to really design within Youzign. Apps. Apps Fantastic. There you go. I'll name our company Apps Fantastic. How very easy it is to really create some nice graphics very simply, very quickly as well. And that ability, like I was talking about before, just to change kind of every aspect about these different graphics, to make them really personalized just for you. So not so much longer now, and I'm kind of getting close to wrapping this image up. Obviously it should have been. Obviously, it should have been Twitter. So please use your imagination liberally. But it's still going to be quite nice graphics by the end of this. I'm sure you'll agree. Well, I hope you'll agree. And we've got really this ability to, like I was saying before, to kind of customize and really customize kind of any aspect really of this software, and we're continually updating it. So this is still, as I said, within the beta stage. So by the time it actually hits launch, everything's going to be very smooth and easy to use. And on top of being very smooth and very easy to use, there's going to be a lot more features than I'm currently actually using here. So really, by the time this hits the market, which it will in like I said, just 3 weeks from now almost, you're going to have lots and lots of different features. So I mean, on top of all of these kind of custom adaptations that you've kind of seen me playing around with today, there's going to be lots and lots of new and other stuff that we're continually developing, and we're actually developing this within the whole beta process with this kind of engaged audience that I was kind of highlighting and talking about earlier, which I'm really happy, and we're obviously really happy to have such an engaged audience who are really keen and really positive about the software, and who are also kind of really engaged in helping us create this really nice piece of software, and who are inputting with some really great ideas about how we can actually improve software. And this is kind of what we're about at the moment in this beta stage, is kind of engaging with our existing customer base and saying, you know, hey guys, thanks for being along for the ride. Let's create something really great. It's been a blast. Let's create something great that will really engage you, that you'll find really useful for your business, and it's, you know, the tool that you'll want to use, the graphics tool essentially, that you'll want to be using for your business, because it's so simple, so easy to use. And this is really what we're about at the beta stage, is engaging with our audience. Like I said, it's not a monologue. It's really about a two-way conversation. It's about getting involved and saying thank you, and saying thanks for coming up with some great ideas, and thanks for being along for the ride, and thanks for helping us create a really nice piece of software, and in return we'll create a software that's as user-friendly as possible, so that we can make this the perfect piece of graphic software for you, that you can use across any of your social media, you know, that you can use to make infographics, that you can use to make whatever you want to be making, essentially. And so a few more quick touches, and then I'll wrap this kind of graphics up very quickly. And so just a few tiny quick touches, and then I think you'll get an idea of just what you can actually do with the software. I'm sure actually at this point you've got a very, very good idea of what you can be doing as graphic designers, as people who've got lots of graphic talent, what you can actually be doing with the software to create some really nice graphics. And it's all, like I said, it all comes together very, very quickly because we've really focused on making this as user-friendly as possible. And I'll just kind of highlight how user-friendly we're making this by kind of using all of these shortcuts that we've actually got and that we've been creating, all of these, the ability to duplicate anything and kind of, it's a real time saver. There you go, cool this. Everything's a tiny bit more cramped than I'd like it to be. Oh. Let's get that back where it was. Okay, and as you can see, when I made that very that very silly mistake there, which is kind of easiest to do when stuff becomes a bit fiddly, those guidelines come in really helpful to kind of, correct any mistakes that you make very simply. And now we've got a phone number. Let's make the final piece for this nice bit of graphics, because it's good to have lots and lots of different ways that you can connect with the audience. So in addition to that phone, let's also give people an email address that they could potentially email. And again, let's go for a slightly different color this time. Maybe go, there you go. Very nice. And we can, as you can see, get all these guidelines that really come up and pop up very quickly to help you identify kind of where everything is, and is everything in the right place. And let's put in an imaginary phone number quickly, and we'll use the best type of imaginary phone number available, which is a good combination of 1 to 9, 1 to 5, which is actually my phone number. And so if any of you want to test that, you can actually test that at the end of the webinar, and I'll pick up the phone. No, I'm lying. There you go. And finally, we have an email address. My email at mail.com. There you go. So as you can see, you can really quickly create nice graphics, kind of using the inbuilt kind of features and the inbuilt kind of different aspects of the software to make some really nice graphics very quickly. And in addition to that, you can obviously upload your own images, which I've just done there. So I just uploaded a phone PNG, and as you can see with a PNG, if you've got kind of like that transparent background, the software recognizes that, and so you automatically have that transparent background as well. So you have the ability to create almost balsamic style, custom images as it were. So you could use that for if you were making a website or whatever instead. And like I was saying before, you've got the ability to, with Youzign at the moment, you've got the ability to create all these different kind of graphics and covers. And so you've got Facebook infographics, flyers, business cards, YouTube channel, ebook, Twitter, headers, Kindle, video. It's a long list. And then you can also do custom sizes. And all of these, all of the tools that you see there, all of those vectors, you can personalize all the vectors. All of the vectors, you've got the ability, with a lot of these different vectors, you've got the ability to change all the different color aspects of them. And they're all vectors, as I was saying, so you can blow them up and you can minimize them, and they'll keep their shape. And they'll look good if you're going to be printing this out and they'll also look good if you're going to be transferring that straight off into Twitter. So now you've got kind of an idea of what you can do as you kind of use Youzign to help you kind of create some nice graphics which you could use, like I was saying before, linking it all back to Twitter, that you could use to make a nice Twitter header that you could use for your business, which creates a nice kind of like nice appealing kind of graphics which will engage your audience, which is a starting point for engaging your audience. And as like I was saying before, when you're engaging your audience, you're looking at, you start off by creating some really nice graphics for your Twitter, which is the most important thing, is having some really, really nice, sexy graphics for your Twitter cover. And then after that, once you've got the nice graphics set up, Twitter's all about targeting, so you want to be targeting your audience. Of course, you know who your audience are. Your ideal audience is your customers, and that all those people that want to give you money or that are wanting to get involved and engaged with your website or whatever it is that that you're providing that they want to get engaged with. Of course, you know what your ideal audience is, and you know what you want them to do. And the difficult thing, of course, is getting them engaged. And like I did in that kind of the second part of the webinar, I gave you kind of brief introduction, kind of an overview of some of my favorite tools, which will help you kind of being able to identify and engage with your audience by looking at your competitors, looking at kind of what your competitors' audience is like, the demographics of your own audience, how you can kind of look at the kind of content that your audience is interested in, and you can use that to identify content that you could be creating for yourself, or you could be kind of like, sending out those the kind of content that's relevant to your audience, that your audience gets engaged with. And so I kind of gave you a few ideas about that. And then again, I followed up with just kind of giving you a very, very brief guide, kind of looking at how to engage people with Twitter, and not making it all about a monologue, but actually making it about conversation. And then finally, I gave you that very, very brief kind of overview, and I created what I hope was a very nice graphics, kind of highlighting a few of those kind of features that we've got with Youzign at the moment. And what I hope has happened at this point is you've kind of got a really good idea of what you could actually, got your brain popping, and you've kind of got some different ideas about what you could be doing with Youzign and how you could be using Youzign for kind of the different aspects of your business, or if you're a graphic designer, kind of like the different kind of graphics things that you could be creating from Facebook across to Twitter, across to sexy infographics, and kind of how you could be using the software already. And now what I want to kind of get onto is actually the ability to get straight in there and kind of actually join our team of beta users. And like I said, we've got a very, very engaged audience at the moment, and I'm really happy, and I'm sure at the moment actually some of the people listening in on this webinar, and I'll be talking directly to you at the moment. And I say a big thank you for the people who are already involved, and I know how excited you are to be using the software already. And to those of you who don't, and who aren't yet using the software, like I said, we've got 3 more weeks until this goes live. So it's 3 weeks where you can be really, really involved in actually helping to shape a really great piece of software and kind of seeing a product develop, but not only seeing a product develop and being in the private Facebook users group, but also kind of having the ability to use the software and also being able to input and having some really, really great ideas and kind of sending them out there and letting us know about the great ideas that you have about how you'd like to use the software, and kind of seeing that integrated within the software. And this is where we're at the moment. So we'd be really, really excited if you'd be interested in joining us and being a big part of this. So Magnus will actually be sending, I think at this very point, Magnus will have dropped in the Youzign link actually, how you can join up to be part of our beta group, and kind of how you can join up. And if you basically input the link that he's just put into the text box now, I can just check that he's put that in, and then you can join us and be part of this kind of part of the beta process, and kind of, we can have a conversation. And I'd be really interested in actually whoever's new and part of this webinar currently, and who's going to be joining us in the beta room on the beta private Facebook page. I'd be really excited to actually engage in a conversation with you once you've signed up. And Magnus actually has been kind of all along for the ride at this point. So what I'd like to do is kind of have a quick look at some questions that some of you might have. So I think Magnus has probably been collecting some questions. What we'd like to do, it's now 7:50. I think what we'll do is we'll give maximum 20 minutes for questions. So we've got 20 minutes to really focus on answering all of your questions. And I'll just hand this straight over to Magnus now, because I can see his microphone's on. He's raring to go. So I'll just hand it over to you, Magnus. Are you still there, yeah?
Yes, Nico. Thank you very much. Hello, guys. My name is Magnus, the campaign manager at YMB Properties, and thanks for being on this live webinar. So, Nico, I only have one question here, and let me say, from the beginning, you mentioned a couple of tools they can use to improve their Twitter marketing results. So I've got a question asking how they can find these tools. So any idea?
Sure. What I'll do is actually I've created this whole list. So what I'll do at the end of this webinar, we'll take everyone's names, or Magnus will be taking all your names, and we'll actually email you the list of all of the tools that I've kind of just discussed and kind of gave you a brief overview of. And we'll email you the list so you can actually have that there in front of you, and it will have all of the URLs so you can get straight on and start using those tools.
Okay, thank you very much about that. I don't have any other question right here at the moment. So if you have any question, if you're on the live session and you have any question that you want us to look into, or you have any question about Youzign or about Twitter marketing and stuff, you can just drop it using the right box by the right hand of your screen, and I'll be here to take it, and we try to do justice to that live.
I think what would be really nice actually, Magnus, is if you take over my screen for a minute and kind of give a quick overview of actually how you can go about signing up to be part of that beta process, be one of the beta members. If you could do that now, actually, I think that would be really great. That would be really helpful to be able to, so they can clearly see exact steps they'll need to take in order to be part of this whole beta process.
Okay, I've just taken over the screen from you. Let me know when you start seeing my screen. Can you see that now?
So bear with us. Not yet, but bear with us as the screen transfers. Yeah, I can see it now.
Okay. So if you want to join us and be a part of the beta team, all you have to do is to click on the link I posted by the right side of your screen. It should be in the chat box. That link is http. Let me just navigate to it now. /Youzign beta. That will redirect you to the page. Sorry.
And obviously Magnus has already put that into your chat box. So if you just look at the chat box now, and you kind of
just click on
grab the link from the chat box.
Exactly, and that will take you
follow
to
the
the
steps.
Youzign beta. Okay. So I have that now. That will take you to the page where we have the Youzign beta offer on the Wara forum. So once you're on the page, you can see that we freezed the offer price at $47. A few weeks ago, we increased that to $67, but owing to the fact that we are still mailing those on the Youzign waiting list, so we decided we should bring back the price down to $47 so that everybody has equal opportunity to join the Youzign team. And once you purchase this Youzign offer from here, you'll be taken to a page where you can create an account on the Youzign website and then join the team here, where you can be creating your graphics using Youzign. Like Nico, I've given you a demo of how you can create Youzign Twitter covers, but he made a mistake actually, and he apologized for that using the Facebook dimension. So once you're on this page, if you want to create your Twitter cover, you come down here. Let me go back to the Facebook. You come down here and then click on the Twitter cover icon. This will bring up these particular dimensions, which is perfect for your Twitter graphics. So once you're here, you can take this thing back and then you will have the full page to yourself and you continue your design. This particular dimension now is perfect for your Twitter profiles and for any graphics you're creating for your Twitter header and all your Youzign marketing graphics here. So I think that is it about joining the Youzign Beta Alpha. I will just pass the screen back now to Nico to take over, and then I will look if we have any more questions there, and if not, we'll stay live here for the next 20 minutes answering your questions. And then I got another guy who was trying to ask if we are going to package all the information we've shared so far on this live webinar session today in a PDF and maybe mail that later. And like Nico said earlier on, we might try to organize everything like the tools he mentioned while he was speaking earlier, and then any other information concerning the Twitter marketing tips he gave out, we might package that in a PDF and try to get that across to you guys. And also I will try to post that on the Youzign Beta Facebook group. Thank you very much. Nico, I will pass the screen back to you now, if you have anything else to say.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for just kind of going through that very quickly, kind of showing very clearly the exact steps you need to take in order to sign up. Like I said, I'm was really happy to go through everything today. Was really happy to see a very engaged audience as I look over the questions or look over the kind of input that I've been getting, and I'd be really interested in having a conversation there in the private Facebook group with any of you guys. So thanks a lot for all turning up. Especially thanks a lot for some of you guys that are waking up so early in the morning. I'm not a morning person, so big thumbs up there for getting up that early. Of course, if you're a morning person, then that's going to be a lot easier for you. But for those of you who aren't, I can understand how much of an effort that was. So cheers, guys, for all turning up, and I hope you got something really worthwhile out of that whole webinar. It was really nice to have a nice clear. What I've tried to do is have a nice clear kind of structured overview of exactly how you can go about from start to finish, kind of like start focused on the graphics, then identifying your target audience, kind of breaking it down very quickly. Of course, you know exactly what your target audience is, but it doesn't hurt even to do a very quick review, and then of course getting really into the meat and potatoes and all the rest. Looking at kind of the tools that are available, and like I was saying before, what I'll do is we'll send out that list of tools there so that you can have a play with them. And there are some really good tools out there. And if you explore all of those kind of Chrome add-ons, like Chrome's all of the bad things about Google, they do have some really nice tools. So you should check some of those tools out. And like I said, it's really useful, and you can use them across. So if you're into SEO, you can kind of chop and change and kind of use one of those tools that I kind of identifies, and you can use that for SEO as well, which is quite nice to kind of start creating this kind of toolbox of all this kind of software that you can use for different purposes, and how you can apply it for your business, how you can apply it directly for social media. And then of course, like following up with not having a monologue at people, and really getting into this discussion with your engaged audience. And then finally, and most importantly, because this is really what it's all about when you're looking at business, it's how to transfer all of that engaged audience into either cash or into people coming to your website, which is really what it's about. It's about kind of getting that social kind of buzz, and then transferring that into actions. preferably with people depositing money into your bank account, or if not, into people visiting the great content that you're creating. So just having a quick review, I think we did cover all of those questions. So all of those questions were answered. I think it's now 8 o'clock. So what I'll do is, if anyone's got another question, we'll answer any questions. So if you have a dying question that you really want to get answered, now's your time. And if not, what we'll do is we'll be wrapping this up. And like Magnus showed you, there's the link for Youzign. You don't need to, well, what you should do is you should go straight over now, if you haven't already, and sign up. What we'll be doing is we'll actually be closing it down, because we're limiting this kind of stuff for you who are involved, who attended the webinar. So after, an hour and a half, well, 2 hours basically after this webinar is finished, we'll also be taking the offer offline. So thanks again for everyone for turning up, and I think that's it really. I hope you all have a great weekend.
Okay guys, I hope you learned something new today on this live webinar. We know most of you guys sacrifice a lot to be here due to the time differences, and we appreciate that. This webinar is recorded and will be published and mailed within the next 24 hours. And the link for the Youzign beta offer is still live until the next an hour or two. We'll be taking that offer offline for today. So thanks for attending, and thanks for your time.
Okay, cool. Well, have a great, well, Magnus and I wish you to have a great weekend. So hope you have a great weekend, and catch everyone later.
Bye.